Hey YouTube, what's up? This is Ashley Nicole with The Practical Life. Welcome to another live. Good afternoon. I hope you all are doing well. Today, this live is going to be kind of a continuance for the McCray family. I did a video kind of doing a little bit of a deep dive based on my therapeutic concerns. And yeah, we're going to get right into it. Hold on one second, guys. What in the world happened? Let's see here. So I have been looking into this particular story, and I wanted to talk about this on the last live, but couldn't really do it because I was kind of doing a deep dive into what was happening and my understanding of the particular story. And now this I think what's going on now, I think Vaughn is still in a um coma. I don't really know like if he's improved. The last time that I looked, it said that his eyes were opening, he was kind of squeezing hands a little bit and things like that. But I don't know if there has been any improvement. Now, previously, I did see a video of Dre talking about the different treatments they were trying and things like that. And she mentioned biofeedback. Now, in my experience as a therapist, biofeedback is usually something that people and not usually, but in my experience as a therapist, people who deal with severe anxiety, severe post-traumatic stress symptoms, they usually try biofeedback if nothing else is helping, like if the medication is not helping, if they've tried everything else and nothing is working, then they will try biofeedback. So I wanted to kind of look into it to see really kind of maybe trying to, I will only be speculating what he would be using biofeedback for. Now, remember, this video is fair use. All opinions and information is based on my education, experience, and knowledge in the mental health field. Any images or any information I say or images I use would be alleged, and just want to make sure that we make that clear. Now, we did a little bit of a recap of Mr. Vaughn, right? We know that he's in the coma. We know that previously Dre had indicated that he had a seizure disorder and that she was trying to see what was going on. He tried to unalive himself allegedly. And they were taking kratom. They were drinking kratom, large amounts of kratom, allegedly on a daily basis. And so I saw one video from, and to be honest, it seems like a lot of the videos from Facebook have been taken down. But I saw one from January of this year, and that's when she was talking about the biofeedback. Now, the video wasn't titled that or anything. It looks like she kind of got on live to talk about her makeup and to do her makeup and things like that. And throughout that process, she started to talk about what has been helping her family. And so she's like, oh my gosh, guys, I bought a biofeedback machine. And remember, too, guys, I have my notes. Don't play, because we know that this story is confusing and I cannot remember everything. So I took some notes. And to be honest, it's so confusing that I had to stop taking notes because it's difficult to put the pieces together. And I'll talk about this a little bit more throughout the video, but there are a lot of pieces that are missing, and probably rightfully so, because we're on social media and we're just not going to know everything about what possibly happened. And also because we're not privy to their relationship. Is their relationship, is their marriage, people do what's best for them. They live in kind of like their own culture and state of their family. So we wouldn't know everything. So again, we would just be speculating, in this video. But she indicated in this Facebook live, when she was doing her makeup, that her husband was having these seizures, and we know, she indicated that he had a seizure disorder, and which is really would be what epilepsy, right? And that's just kind of can be considered as kind of like the brain is in having an electrical storm. So she indicated he, was having these seizures, and that she bought a biofeedback machine, and it had been helping him, and she was like ecstatic about it. And she kept saying the statement, biofeedback has helped save my family from seizures. Now, I don't really like to talk about the kids so much, but she stated that the kids, that one of her children, and she mentioned that the child was 4 years old. So this video was in January. And something happened with my lighting, guys, but let me see if I can fix it. This happened in January. And in January, this child was 4 years old, because she said my daughter is 4. And so she mentioned that her daughter had been using the machine as well. And so that's what really kind of made me kind of think about it, like, what is she really kind of using this for? So she indicated that the daughter had been doing biofeedback, using the biofeedback machine, and that her husband had been using it too. And again, she kept saying that it saved her family, and she was so grateful to have found the machine. Now, I don't know, there was no indication that they had been seeing a therapist or anything like that. So I'm not really sure, if someone advised them to buy the machine, or I don't know. But she said that her daughter was having seizures at age 4, and that since using the biofeedback machine, she hadn't had seizures. This was during that time that she hadn't had seizures for 2 weeks, I think she said. And she said since Vaughn had been using it, he hadn't had seizures for 2.5 months. So that's why she was so excited about using the machine. Now, we're going to talk about what biofeedback is. Give me 1 second, guys. All right, so we're going to talk about there we go. Technical difficulties, but you know what? We make it do what it do, and we keep moving. So, biofeedback. So again, she said that this had been helping her family. It saved her family from these seizures, right? And so, what is biofeedback? Now, sometimes I'm going to try my best not to confuse you all, because there are not a lot of, but a little bit more, it's a little bit more intricate, a little bit more it's kind of like subsets of biofeedback that occur as well. So I'm just going to give like a general overview of what it is. Now, firstly, in order to be a practitioner who provides biofeedback, right? Because remember, in my experience in the mental health space, people who are experiencing extreme anxiety, extreme symptoms of depression, extreme symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder, they would try biofeedback if nothing else is working. So in the mental health space, biofeedback definitely can be used, but also biofeedback can be used in the medical space, right? So, as far as your physical health. So, I'm going to get into the types and things like that, but what is it? What is biofeedback? So, it's just a technique that is used, and the way that it's used is there are electrical sensors that are placed on your body. So it may be on your, and it's not harmful or anything like that, right? It may be on your fingers. They may place them on just on different points of your body, and it helps you to learn what is happening with your body at certain points, right? And it will tell you, it will give you indicators if your temperature has went up or down, if your, if you're sweating a little bit more, if your heart rate has gone up. Those electrical sensors send those signals to the machine, and so the machine in turn will kind of let you know this is what's happening to your body at this time, right? So when you receive that information about, what's going on as far as if you're sweating a lot more at a certain point, if your heart rate has gone up or down at a certain point, if your pressure has gone up or down at a certain point, you can learn how to kind of make subtle changes with yourself, based on knowing how your body is reacting, right? So there are different measurements of biofeedback, and the different type of measurements of what it's measuring, what those electrical sensors are measuring, are your brain waves, right? Your breathing patterns, your heart rate again, sweat gland activity, and your temperature, right? So the ones that were most interesting to me, based on the McCray family, because Dre mentioned that Von was having seizures, and we know in one of the videos or the audio that we heard that he kept saying he was stressed. I'm so stressed, in this house, in this space. I need to get out of here, right? So the brainwave measurement was what I was kind of interested in and wanted to know more questions about because of the seizures, right? So biofeedback may have been helpful to him to learn those brain waves, or maybe like when those waves go up or down, he can pretty much tell when he may be about to have a seizure, and during that time, you can pay attention to the surroundings to see what is happening when those brain waves go up or down. And then that way you can control that, so it will decrease the frequency of the seizures, possibly, in this situation. The other one that would have been interesting to know, if the reason why he was maybe, or she was maybe engaging in the biofeedback, right, would be the sweat gland activity. Now, when someone has severe anxiety, they may have symptoms of increased sweating, right? Their hands may get clammy. They may start sweating on the face. So when this particular measurement with the biofeedback machine is able to kind of tell, right, or let you know when you're sweating a little bit more, your sweat glands are, active, right? Maybe that's the times that you are experiencing anxiety. So again, if you know this information, you're able to better control what's kind of happening around you. And then the other one would be the temperature measurement. If you don't know, when your temperature increases, it can indicate that there's a level of stress. And so we heard Vaughn say, I'm so stressed, it's stressful, right? So is that part of the reason they were using the biofeedback machine? I don't know. These will all be, questions, and I was just kind of wondering and curious about, right? So another thing with that is, again, I don't know if someone advised her to get this machine, right? And buy it and use it at home, or use this technique at home. Usually you would go to an office for a practitioner, because you have to be, in order for you to provide biofeedback, you have to be kind of have like a certification. So if, I'm not sure why they wouldn't be going to a practitioner's office. If he is a vet, I would imagine that he would be able to go to the VA, and they, may have a practitioner there, who knows, in his area, that would provide that type of treatment if nothing else worked. Now, we do know that Dre indicated to him that he had PTSD. And I do know that clients who experience severe symptoms of PTSD, sometimes they do try biofeedback because nothing else is working. The relaxation techniques are not working. The therapy is working a little bit, but they're still having severe symptoms and things like that. So I'm not really sure, again, why he didn't go to a practitioner. Now I would imagine that maybe, I don't want to say that Dre didn't let him, but based on what we know currently, with him being in the hospital, her kind of, it appears that she may be controlling the situation a little bit. And again, too, like I mentioned before, she's his wife. And so she would be the person that would have to make those decisions. In knowing her husband's situation and things like that, if it came down to that. So I don't know if, she's not, didn't allow him to maybe go to a practitioner, and she said, oh no, just, show me how to do it. I can do it myself. I'm not really sure. Now the FDA has approved biofeedback for situations such as anxiety, right? Because it has, proved to show that it can slow down the breathing, it can help with the deep breathing, right? And we all know that's how, if we're kind of stressed a little bit, things are intense, that's how we are kind of able to calm ourselves down with deep breathing. So they have approved that. What they have not approved is the machines that are used, or devices that are used in the home. So now, was he using it because of stress? Um, was he using it to lower blood pressure? Like, did he have any other medical symptoms that we weren't privy to? I mean, it seemed like they were pretty much, well, Dre was pretty much kind of telling her followers what was happening with them. I'm not sure why she wouldn't mention something like that, either. Now, again, the home use devices, they may not be approved, and she was using it at home. I'm going to get into something else in a minute, though, but biofeedback is mostly used for anxiety or stress, chronic pain, headaches, and it can be used for epilepsy. And there's a subset of biofeedback, which would be neurofeedback. If he was engaged in that, then that's what he would be doing for the seizures. If it was being used for the seizures, I would assume that that's what he would be doing, neurofeedback, which is measuring those brain waves, right? Because she mentioned in that January video I saw of this year that he was having grand mal seizures. Now, I've witnessed someone having a grand mal, and it was the scariest thing I've ever seen. Now, mind you, I was in college, and so it was like the first time I had seen something like that. And, you could tell something was not right. the situation that we were in, I mean, we were just sitting down talking, and the person just started to kind of look up in the sky, and then they just fell over and started seizing. So, that she said, this has saved my family. Now, she indicated that since he had been doing the biofeedback, that he hadn't had a seizure in 2.5 months. So, based on that information, I'm assuming, oh yeah, it was working. Okay, but what happened for either them to reoccur or the situation based on his health to go downhill if that was working? Like, why would you continue? Why would you discontinue it? Or did he continue it and it stopped working? Right now, there could be other factors of, maybe something else intervening to maybe it wasn't working as well. We don't know. But she did say, it's been helping. So I would think that if it was being used for the seizures, that he would be engaging in neurofeedback. And again, I don't necessarily think that that would be done at home. I would think he would be going to a practitioner, maybe at the VA or someone else, right? That has certification to provide that for him. Um, but neurofeedback would treat PTSD, any concussions someone has had, any trauma, and sleep related disorders. So, again, I'm really thinking that, of course, like I said, we don't know everything, but that was happening. But maybe there's something else that was going on medically that we may not be privy to or we may not know about, right? Um, So now, based on my experience as a therapist too, clients who have tried biofeedback, they have, for example, a lot of people don't know that. I know I talk about like work stress a lot and things like that. There are some people that are so stressed at work that they cannot function at work, right? And so it could be to the point, it could be so extreme to the point where you need time off of work, right? And there are some people who have insurance through their company that they work for that can be approved for, say, short-term disability or sometimes even long-term disability based on the stress that you have. Um, it could be from anything. It doesn't have to be from work, but whatever is causing the stress or trigger of stress could interfere with your work and you're not able to function there. So there are some people who say, okay, I'm going to take a little bit of time off. They're practitioners, usually in that situation, therapists or doctors, psychiatrists. They will send the information to your insurance company to let them know, hey, these are the symptoms that I observed, and they can't concentrate, they can't function, so on and so forth. um, they would get the time off approved, and they will continue to go to therapy to try to get better so that they can function in the workplace, right? But if that's not working, then they will do biofeedback. Now, during the biofeedback, some therapists will say, okay, well, or the insurance company, they might say they should be getting better, right? But some people experience side effects from biofeedback, right? And some of those side effects include fatigue, anxiety, dizziness, cognitive impairment. So then that means that they really, like, they still can't go to work. It's kind of like now it's worse. Like, it kind of makes the anxiety worse before it gets better. So it's like, the insurance company is like, okay, you got treatment. You've been going to treatment for 2 weeks or whatever. Like, you should be getting better. You found treatment. And the biofeedback practitioner is like, well, not really, because they can't come to work now, not right now, because they have side effects after this treatment. So I know that it was mentioned that the kratom, when I looked up kratom, it said that these are some of the same side effects of kratom. So that was interesting to me. Again, that's what made me say, you know what, we don't know everything. And were those side effects kratom? Was the cognitive impairment, the dizziness, the extreme fatigue, was it from that, or was it from the biofeedback? Pastel, hi Pastel. Hello. We don't know everything that happened in their house, but she was doctoring them with herbs. Still, that can be dangerous if not taken correctly. I had no knowledge of biofeed. Now, I'm going to get into that too, because this is one of the reasons why. Okay, so let me finish this. So now, so in this same video, she said, right after she was saying, she said, "Oh, this saved my family, right? I'm so glad I bought this machine." Somebody in her comments said they had just bought a machine. And she's like, "Oh yeah, I bought the machine. It's really been helping us along with the herbs that we have been taking." So now, if she's saying that biofeedback was helping and he hadn't had a seizure in 2.5 months, to me, that would let you know, okay, that is what's working for him. Maybe not so much the herbs. Like, what happened between that time where it was working and then his health went downhill? Like, did you stop the biofeedback, or did she think that the herbs are working more than the biofeedback? Or she was trying to, basically, she playing doctor, trying to couple the herbs and the biofeedback together to see if he would get better faster. I was like, what is going on? So then when she mentioned her daughter, now I'm not going to touch on this too much because them her kids. Okay. But she said her daughter was 4 and she was doing biofeedback with her. Now, doing too much and also getting mad. So, right, we don't even know what she was getting. Like, I wonder where she's getting her information from. Is she getting it from the web? Is she getting it from an herbalist? Like, what? I wonder what made her go that route initially. Like, was it for her to lose weight? And again, I haven't seen all the videos, but was it for her to initially lose weight? And she's like, "Oh, okay, this is working," and just kind of adopted this whole lifestyle? Or was it because of something else? But when she talked about her daughter doing biofeedback, now biofeedback is practitioners do help kids, with this particular technique, but not at 4 years old. I haven't heard that. Maybe like 7 or 8, where they're kind of better able to understand the mind body connection, and how the mind can control the body. For example, when they're a little bit nervous or a little bit worried, they can use the biofeedback to help them learn more about their body and let them know, hey, when this is happening with my body, my mind can control it. But at 4 years old, I don't know about that. But she said that it has stopped her daughter's seizures for 2 weeks. But I thought, now I'm not a medical doctor, but I thought that, I don't know, are seizures kind of like what I want to say, hereditary? I don't know. But because I was going to say is that's not they have a son together, right? And she had, or he had other kids, or I'm not really sure. But I'm like, I don't know if you would use biofeedback with a 4-year-old baby, but I would not do it myself. I would say, okay, right, genetic. I don't know. Like, did he always suffer from the seizures and then, or had diagnosed with a seizure disorder, and then at a certain point it got worse? And this was this point, right? Or is this something that he was just diagnosed with? right, the daughter is not his biological. So that's what made me, because I was thinking, I said, I thought they had a son together. And then I was thinking, I said, well, are seizures genetic? But that's not his biological daughter. So then I would think, is something causing the seizures, right? Kind of messing up the brain activity, which could be what the herbs, whatever she was getting from Mexico. Uh, this is just a weird, it's just a weird situation. The more you think about it, the more you kind of take a deep dive, the more I listen to audio, the more confused I get, honestly. I'm like, what is really going on? I'm like, what is really going on? So, so yeah, so like I said, I know that they use biofeedback for kids that are maybe 7 or 8, but 4 years old, no. Um, right, okay, yeah, the daughter isn't his biological. So now I don't know. Another thing that I kind of looked at was biofeedback is commonly used for chronic pain. I just think that there are other things that are that may have been happening, or other things medically that we may not know about. And I did see something where she said that uh, she kicked the dad out of the hospital room because she thought it was his mom. It's something that she may not like about the mom, right? And I know I touched on my previous video about them, that maybe he was raised by the grandma. So maybe there's some trauma that he had, and biofeedback is used for trauma. So, but if he had been doing well, right? If this man had been doing well, then something had to trigger those thoughts or those feelings, or for him to start going downhill. Something had to trigger him to go that way. And we don't know what that is. We don't know what that is. And now, this lady is a smart lady. Why? Because she has developed and grown a whole business online. She has hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and thousands of followers, right? So she knows what to tell and what not to tell. She knows how far she can go, where she probably knows she's gonna get some backlash, but she's not gonna tell it all, because it's probably some things that if she does say it, it's gonna be over for her, for real, for real. So she knows what to say and what not to say. That's how, I just figured that there are a lot of things that we probably don't know, and again, it's tricky. I can see why she's probably upset that people are commenting on the story or trying to figure out what happened, right? Because she's married to him. It's not like they're a girlfriend, boyfriend, fly by night relationship. They've only known each other for 6 months or a year or whatever. Like, this is her husband. However, she chose to put this information on social media, which means that it's you allow that door, you open that door for people to want to know what's happening, or want to figure out or ask you more questions. People been asking you questions up until now. You're okay with answering everything else. But when you put this information out, you don't want anyone to ask you about it, or to speculate, or to assume, anything. So it's very confusing. I know, like I said in the last video, I really feel for the kids, and hope that they are safe and healthy, and protected, So yeah, so I don't really know. I tried to see what Von's current state was, but I didn't find anything different. He's still in a coma. I hope that his parents are able to see him, or at least get an update about what's going on. And she also mentioned that she was in that video that she showed, this same video, it was alarming because in one breath she was like, oh, y'all, you guys, my husband, he's having seizures, and I'm really trying to figure out anything to save my family. And it's kind of like extreme. I'm like, save? I mean, it's why don't he just go to the doctor? You know what I mean? Like, why don't he have a doctor's visit? Like, why are you trying to be the one that's doing the saving? I don't know. It just seemed weird. But then in the very next sentence, she said, oh, you guys, we just started an herbal business. We're getting the website up, and I'm hoping that I can help you all too. I can help save you guys too. What? No. I'm like, how is it that you mentioning your husband is having these seizures? You don't know why. You're trying to figure out how to help your family. Your daughter's having seizures, and this is this. And then in the next breath, you say, oh, I'm putting up my website. Make sure that y'all stay tuned because y'all need to get these herbs I'm taking. So it's like you're trying to use transparency to grow your business. And that's weird. I wonder if anything will come from this. I check often for updates. Yeah, I was looking. Because at first I'm like, okay, this seems like a weird story, And then I don't know. I saw something about I did see something about maybe the kids kind of being taken from her, or possibly or allegedly being taken, so that they can do more investigating. But I don't know if they really were. But I don't know what the update is on that. But the more you do look into it, you're like, what in the world? And I mentioned before that when you look his name up, because he has a unique, I don't know, maybe it's not that unique, but the spelling of his first name, right? And when you type in his name in Google, it comes up Yuma, Arizona. And I think that's where they live, or whatever, the city they live in. And it says something about an accident, about like a like military accident. And there is saying, is Marvon McCray still still alive, and things like that. And I'm like, is this him they talking about, or is this like somebody else with the same name? But I wouldn't imagine that somebody else with the same, I mean, I guess it could be with the same name, would live in the same city. I don't know. It was just kind of weird. I was like, is this the same person? And it showed pictures of like the crash site and stuff like that. So yeah, but this is so weird. Like, I just hope that you find all kinds of weird things on social media and hear things. And I think also it's just weird too, because the whole story is not there, and we're trying to piece things together. And that's why in the first video, if you watch the first video, Pastel, I put together like a holistic view of Mr. McCray, where I kind of listed out each area and put what we knew about each area and what questions we may have. So yeah. So again, we don't know everything. I don't know why this lady would be doing biofeedback at her house, and the devices that you have to get for this to do it at home. I mean, you could do it at home. I mean, it's not FDA approved, but you can get a machine, buy a machine, and do it at home. And you have to put the sensors. You're going to have to put the sensors on and stuff like that. And the machines could cost anywhere up to like $2,500. And I would imagine if she's saying she's trying to save her family, she probably bought it. I would want to know who advised her of that, though. But she also seems like a talker, one of those people who just talks a lot and says all of this stuff. And she could have talked to a practitioner, and whatever she told them, they were like, oh yeah, you could just buy it and do it at home. And they were not privy to the severity of the situation. Like, this man is having grand mal seizures. Now when she was talking about her daughter having these seizures, she said, this lady, she said that her daughter stopped having the seizures for 2 weeks. And then she said, oh, my daughter was on all these medications for seizures. She mentioned Keppra, she mentioned Tegretol, she mentioned a lot of different medications. And I'm like, a 4-year-old? Now, don't get me wrong, as a parent, you don't want your I don't know what parent, unless you absolutely have to, what parent wants their child on those type of medications, because those types of medications could have possible very severe side effects for a 4-year-old. I mean, those are heavy medications. I mean, some of those medications are given to people who are diagnosed with bipolar disorder, the ones that she was mentioning. So I would imagine she would not want her daughter on any type of medication. And she was, I don't know, like, it's maybe she was trying to find what something, right? Something. So then it's like, that's where you kind of get confused. You get confused and really torn. As a therapist, I'm kind of torn with this situation. Like, don't get me wrong, there are some things that she's doing that doesn't make sense. But then there are other things when you look at it from a different lens as a parent, right? As a wife, trying to help her family any way she can. And did she just go too far? She might have bipolar disorder. I know a lot of bipolar people, but I can definitely tell when they're not taking their meds. Yes, you can. Yes. Yeah, a lot. I mean, symptoms are different for different people, but that classic symptom would be them being manic, or just being impulsive, saying things out of turn, like they're just not their normal selves. And you pretty much know when they're not taking the medication, and things like that. So, I mean, it could be maybe, because I mean, she was taking the herbs too. She was trying to save herself too. You know what I mean? Like, and a lot of times people with those disorders, they are prescribed medication, but they don't want to take the medication because sometimes for some people the medication makes them feel worse. And it's kind of like a thing where your symptoms are going to get worse before they get better, and sometimes though the symptoms are so bad when they first start taking it, it's like, I'm not taking this anymore. Or either they start taking it and they feel better. It's kind of like the placebo effect too. They start feeling better and then they just stop taking it because they're like, oh, I'm better. Right? That's why I tell people it's so important when you really, for any medication, but medication given for the mental health, you can go to any doctor. Like, you can go to your primary care doctor. That's usually the first place people go, because that's the doctor who has known you a little bit longer, right? They're treating you for simple things. So that's the person you usually go to. They can prescribe medication for the mental health, but a psychiatrist is a doctor who specializes in prescribing medication for mental health, but people don't want to go. Just because you go to the psychiatrist, you don't have to take the medication. It's kind of like, look at it as a consultation. Let me go and see what they might think about what I'm saying, or do they really think I might need medication for these symptoms? Or they might say, oh, it sounds like you might only need therapy, or maybe therapy and the medication. But maybe they were taking, sometimes again, the medication gives side effects, but it's so important that once you are prescribed those medications by whomever, that when you go to your follow-up appointment, you have got to make sure that you basically advocate for yourself. Anything that has happened from the time you started the medication up until that next appointment, usually the psychiatrist that I would collaborate with If they gave new medication or if it's a new patient, they would see them in 2 weeks because they want to know how the medication is going. How are you feeling? What's happening. But of course, you can call the office before then and say, hey, the symptoms are worse. They'll bring you in right away. Right. But some people, they'll go to their follow-up appointment and maybe they felt different, or maybe they were having thoughts of harming themselves, or maybe they were a little bit more irritable, or just different things that they weren't experiencing before were happening once they started taking the medication. And they'll go to the appointment and they won't tell the doctor. So then the doctor doesn't know that maybe you need a different dosage, maybe you need a different medication, maybe you need to add a medication, or they may not know. You may have forgotten to tell them that you're taking medication for something else, right? And then if you don't tell them that, they don't know that, okay, if they're taking this, I can't give them this medication because they will interact with each other. That's why it's so important to let your doctor know. Find a doctor that you trust, right? Let them know, hey, I'm taking this for this, and ask those questions. Good doctors will say, oh, well, I'm not going to, this is a low dosage, but I'm not going to give you this one because it'll interact with the medication that you take for your blood pressure or whatever it might be. But you have to make sure that you are letting them know, because if you don't let them know, they don't know. And then when they leave out, they have these same symptoms. It gets worse, and then they just stop taking the medication when it could have helped them. Now, her doing the biofeedback at home, I definitely wouldn't do, because again, biofeedback is just a technique, right? To help you learn what your body is doing at certain times so you can control it. So how would you control it without doing this technique? Because everybody don't have access to the technique, to this machine, right? So that's where meditation would come in. Deep breathing would come in, because you can tell when you're upset, right? A lot of people can understand what their triggers might be. Say, for example, if you have social anxiety, okay, if I go to a restaurant and there's a lot of people, I'm going to start sweating. Okay, then you may need to go to, that's your favorite restaurant, but if you're going to get so much anxiety, you may start to go at a different time, and kind of work your way up to going when there's a lot of people, right? Because everybody doesn't have access to this particular technique. So they could have done deep breathing. They could have, and all of this would be coupled with seeing a therapist. I just don't understand why. Maybe there's videos of her saying that he was seeing a therapist, because she said he had PTSD. I wonder if he was seeing one. I mean, she told everything else. I wouldn't imagine that she wouldn't tell that. That she wouldn't say, oh, we're all in therapy. And that could have helped him through that. Now, so then that's what makes me kind of think that maybe he was doing it for the seizures. Maybe he was doing it for the seizures, which takes me back to the question: did he always have been diagnosed with a seizure disorder, or and they just became worse at a particular point? So then, what was the trigger for them becoming worse? Because there's going to be a trigger for everything, right? Was it the herbs that he was taking that was triggering that electrical storm in the brain? Because that's really what seizures is epilepsy, right? And epilepsy is just like an electrical storm of what's going on in the brain. So what triggered that? Was it stress? Because stress can trigger a lot. Stress can definitely trigger a lot. I wouldn't be surprised. And was he just a person that, because everybody gets stressed, right? But if you have been diagnosed with a seizure disorder, then you have to be very mindful of not letting the stress manage you, but you manage the stress because you already know what could happen, you know, if any little stress kind of comes in your life and things like that. So again, was she just a mom and a wife trying to take care of herself and her family? And her family is just a family who had like all these challenges, and she was trying to figure out, because she was the person who was, it appears allegedly, the person that was like making the money for the family, the breadwinner and things like that. Like, it seems like she may have had a lot on her plate, right? And then your daughter's having seizures, your husband's having seizures, your husband saying he's stressed. And it's kind of like, even though that's what I want to believe, right? I like, because think about it. You got me thinking now, Pastel. Think about it. They got married in 2015, right? I feel like, just my gut, if she really wanted to do something to this man, she would have did it already. She would have did it already. If what it and her doing all of this to make money doesn't make sense either, because she was already making some money. Unless she wanted some more money to people have pity off of her family, though. But she was already making money. She already had people eating out the palm of her hands. Those paparazzi people. If you see any of those videos, those people hang on her every word. But another part makes me think is much. Oh, but it would have been signs. It would have been signs. I mean, because it seems like this just happened out of the blue, because in 2021 is when the weight loss started. Yep. Attention is definitely a drug. So then I would wonder what was happening behind the scenes with paparazzi, because it's a lot of, and it's YouTubers too. A lot of people do things, I noticed, just when you kind of sit back and observe. They'll do stuff for money grab. They'll do money grabs when things are getting low, when views are getting low, things like that. So what was happening behind the scenes? Because we know that followers does not equal money. It could say you got 1 million followers, but that don't mean you're making 1 million. So what was happening behind the scenes with paparazzi, with her business, right? Were things kind of going left? Was the money getting low? And she said, "Oh, I better do something." But this would be like, this would be something that, I mean, she would need to be checked in, because, and then she got kids too. But so that's what I'm saying. It just wouldn't make any sense. It really wouldn't make any sense. I mean, when she says her daughter was having seizures, she may, if the daughter wasn't really, it's kind of like putting things on them that are really not there. But I believe that something is happening. I mean, the man was in the military. It mentioned that he had some kind of it mentioned he had a knee injury. Now, I didn't think about this. Dang, but still, you got me thinking. Okay, if you have a knee injury, any kind of injury, the first thing that you're going to get are what? Pain pills, because you're going to be in pain. And a lot of people who, a lot of people who are okay at first, like they fine, functioning, everything, they get some kind of injury, they in pain, and they get these pain pills, and then they start getting addicted to pain pills, right? And it could, your the medical side, your physical symptoms, things like that, can go downhill from there. if you starting to take the pain pills and things like that. But again, she mentioned her daughter, the 4-year-old. So I mean, it's just a lot of factors. It's a lot going on here. But I wonder about that too. Because remember, okay, about these pain pills, because baby, let me tell you, those pain pills that people get addicted to is no joke. Okay, that stuff is no joke. And remember, he had been asking her for some money. Remember, he asked her, I told her I need $2,000. He said, I need $2,000 to stay at a hotel because I don't want to stay at home. And she kept saying, well, why do you need $2,000? What are you going to do with $2,000? And he was like, oh, you asking me? He got really upset. Oh, you asking me why I need the money? I just need the money. I don't want to stay here. And it's too much stress and this. We don't know what was going on in those people's house. And again, she says a lot, but I don't think she would tell you everything because it could be shame there. It could be guilt there. She's built her business on motivating, inspiring, showing people they can go from nothing to something, right? And then all of a sudden, your stay-at-home husband, this is just me talking out loud. I don't know what's going on. Prescription pills. So, and again, too, attention is a drug. But I don't know if this is the way that lady would try to get attention by saying that putting something on her husband. It seems like she might be the kind of person, allegedly, just my opinion, that would do something like it'll be on her, something that she did for people to look at her and not really unless that's what she was trying to do and it flipped on her and people wondering about her husband and not wondering about her. You know what I mean? But this is oh my gosh, I'm going to follow this story. But when I heard that biofeedback, I said biofeedback. Did this man have what is he going for? Or is she going for PTSD? Because she mentioned the PTSD. She was taking pills also. See, I knew it. Because see, I have never seen a video. See, I have never seen a video of her talking about pills or prescription or anything like that. That just came to my mind based on that knee injury. And is that why they may have lost a lot of weight? But I'm telling you, and that kratom can basically, based on my research of kratom, you might as well say that's a drug. If you take it in large quantities, and baby, she was taking it back. Spoonful after spoonful after spoonful, just taking it on live. And they tell you, if you take that stuff like that, it's just like opioid. Right? So is that why they lost weight? Is that why she didn't want to give them all that money? And was the possible attempt, I think that was what, in June? Or was it April? Was the possible attempt due to, I don't even know if I can say it on YouTube, OVERDOSE. Was that because of that? For those pills? This is something I wonder. And so then, because if she was too, like you said, she was taking it for injuries, right? Because some people who take it are high functioning, they can go to work every day. I tell you, people who are, especially, oh my gosh, that's why you got to make sure who you're treating with, nurses, doctors. There are a lot of nurses and a lot of doctors, and I don't want to scare nobody, but a lot of pilots too, that have substance use problems. They do. A lot of them. I think getting somewhere, with those pills, with the pills. That show made me think of that. And then now she going to Mexico. What you going to Mexico for? To get medicinal? You can get that here. You can get the medicinal here. And then now this one don't make sense. You going to Mexico to find the medicinals. But here you don't trust the doctors to treat, you know what I mean? Like you don't want to take that, but you gonna go all the way to Mexico to get something. I don't know. It just don't make no sense. But maybe that could be why. That is definitely, I think, a possibility. Um, oh my gosh. And then coupled with taking the kratom and all of that, it was just a crazy storm in the brain. In the brain. Oh my goodness. So yeah, so I'm gonna follow this story. I'm sure I'll think of something else. And thank you for joining the live, Pastel. This was a lot of me kind of thinking out loud because I did take my notes, but as I go through my notes, sometimes I think about different things. I'm like, wait a minute, they said that too. They said that too. So if there is some type of investigation going on, like I hope so for the kid, for the kid's sake, that they're healthy. Yes, they're healthy, they're safe, they're protected. But a lot of people who are on prescription drugs, who are addicted to them, are very high functioning. They go to work every day, they take care of their responsibilities. They pretty much function and you would never know, right? But there are a lot of things, a little nuggets that we kind of know throughout this story that kind of point to something like that may be going on. Because in that audio that I heard him saying, I could push, it sounded like somebody pushed the door open. It was like very chaotic. I mean, he was mad about that $2,000, baby. He was mad about that $2,000. She wouldn't give him that money. And again, is she because maybe she was taking it for injuries too, but I don't know, maybe she was fine, or maybe she just high functioning and she know that when it's time to take care of that paparazzi business, she got to put them pills down. Now, but him on the other end, we know that he didn't have, I didn't see anywhere that he had any social life really. He was a stay-at-home dad, right? Would you like to join? Sure. Now, what time suspicious minds? Because I got little kids. It has to be like a little bit later. But I would love to join your live. Probably maybe 9. So let me know. But yes, I don't know. Like again, maybe she was high functioning, but it didn't indicate that he had like a social life or any hobbies. I mean, he's just like, oh yeah, 10, 15, oh yeah. I'll tell you, the bedtime around here, I don't play about the bedtime. Like you gotta be in the bed. And my kids are Central Time. Okay, wait. Oh yeah, perfect. That's perfect. Yeah, because I'm on the East Coast. Yeah. So yeah, so let me know, suspicious minds. I'm new to this YouTube thing, so let me know if there's a number I need to call in on, or anything like that, and I'll make sure to be there. But yeah, he was basically a stay-at-home dad. So if he's a stay-at-home dad, he doesn't really have, his hobbies are his wife's hobbies, which is social media, and she seems to enjoy it. But he was just doing it because his wife said, he's like, I'm supporting my wife. So he could have got caught up with this, with prescription drugs. I mean, what else does he really do? You know what I mean? And she knows that she has a responsibility to her followers. So kind of easier for her to say, okay, I need to put this down and I need to make sure that, I get to my people. But he didn't really have anything like that. Okay, I will have a link pin for you. Okay, perfect, perfect. I'll be there, Suspicious Minds, 10:15. Thank you so much. So yeah, so I'm gonna continue to follow the story. I'll be on Suspicious Minds tonight. Kind of, joining in on the panel and everything. But thank you all for joining the live. I'm going to, follow this story because I'm so interested in knowing, how it's going to turn out and what's going to happen. Again, those kids, I pray for them, and hope that they are safe, they're healthy, they're protected. And, I just, it's very interesting. But if you need any information or resources regarding mental health, have any questions for yourself or someone else, all the information will be in the description box to connect with me. If you know someone who is trying to kind of catapult themselves in their career, and trying to kind of promote themselves to the next level as far as career and need to know a strategy or figure out a strategy, I am the person for them. Again, all the information will be in the description box on how to connect with me. Thank you so much for joining. I appreciate all of my subscribers. If you're new to the channel, if you feel so inclined to, please join me on my journey to 1,000 subscribers. And I will see you all later. I hope you have a great day. Bye.